So we've been talking quite a bit about this tune, but beautiful. And so early on this week, we did a little bit of an analysis on the tune itself and went over the kind of the relationship between each chord. So it's important to think about the relationship to, at least in these kinds of tunes, to a tonic. So we were in the key of G, and so play, call this a 1, and then 3, 6. But also know the functionality in a moment. So 2, 5, going to ultimately a 2 chord. Okay, and so on like that. So understanding where things go, what chords we're landing on. So we're tying things together as a whole, and then also seeing how things are functioning in a given moment. Right. So a couple of things that just accomplishes is the ability to transpose, to play something in a different key. Let's take one of the more familiar keys, key of C. So if we wanted to play this in the key of C, let's say we're accompanying a singer or just someone as an arrangement, maybe in that key or something. So now C is 1. So then you can think about the same chord progression. So we can move to different keys, and that's a great thing to practice. And when you do that, pick a different key and try to work it out. It may may expose some gaps that you might have on a certain tune that just need to be addressed. Because if we learn an arrangement or we learn a tune, a certain key, sometimes we might fall into the danger of just saying, well, I know my fingers go here and I do this, and that's that. But especially in improvisation, it's important to know the context and how some of these chords are going and how it might relate to a tonic or how it might relate to a different tonic for a moment. So so we can use these things to help us improvise and be able to transpose and generally know a tune very well. So might try to play it in several keys and who knows, maybe all keys. All right, so yeah, so we looked at the chord progression early on, and then we checked a little bit of Earl Klugh out, and that was a really fun one. Getting to know some of the shapes and things that he used. We'll play around with that a little bit. And typically on these videos that I'm reviewing, I do a lot of visual aids and things. We might do a little bit of that, but I think for the most part, I'm gonna kind of just talk things through and discuss. So a few takeaways, and this is kind of what we're trying to do with this in general, is to see if we can do things that we could apply to our own playing. So we know we have this G major 7, and he plays a bit of the melody. I'm going to play some of the chords that he works through. So he plays this. Okay. So this is sort of an accompaniment part. So we get G major 7, and we get this C13 with this with 7 down at the bottom. Okay. So that creates a little motion that we could learn those specific things, but we could also say, oh, well, that's a good idea, you know. What if instead of playing G major for 4 beats and then those two for a couple more beats, then maybe we'll get a little more motion going by adding a C13. Right, so get things kind of rolling along. A couple of other things that we saw. So we know the chord changes, at least looking at the lead sheet. We have a 2-5 progression, A minor. And so Earl Klugh, he includes this D sharp here. So really pretty cool. So it's basically kind of an altered chord. We have the dominant 7th there, and then what was the 3rd? Think of it as a sharp 9, and what was the flat 5? We can still think of that as flat 5. And there, you know, we talked a little bit about creating motion within a given chord. So earlier we talked about adding a chord to create motion in the chord progression. We just talked a moment about maybe changing the quality of the chord a little bit by making it major. Now here's another thing that he does here, where creates a little motion on it, right? So we get melody note, and then we have, so we get this major 7 and then the flat 7. Right? So rather than just kind of hanging out on A minor 7, which is totally fine, but like that, add a little motion like he does. So right, so that's kind of gives us some things that we can maybe take away in a conceptual way. Say, okay, we have this chord, so we'll say, let's play up to that moment. So we have putting another little chord change in there, changing this chord a little bit. Okay, and then this next chord changes a little bit of the progression, right? So all right. So now also just thinking about some half step motion. So he plays this kind of, okay, so that's get this half step motion. So using these 13s again. And then we talked about this next part, just kind of summarizing here, but taking this chord, we end on here for at least for a little bit, a couple measures. So we have this, and he plays these different chords out of it. So he says, so that's all kind of over the A, but we get these different sounds. We get as an E minor over the A, we get B over the A, we get kind of a sus sound. I'm working kind of backwards, but so that's it. I'm kind of swinging that. I don't think he does that. But anyhow, so we can use recordings just by ear too, and written out transcriptions to help us learn from other folks. So it's a great way to kind of share information and get a little bit of an idea what someone else might play. Okay, so what am I? Well, maybe I'll go back a little bit. So this is mainly overview and analysis that we're reviewing right now. But we also checked out a little bit about chord melody relationship. So kind of the idea behind some of these lessons and things is that and pretty much all the way through my time as a guitar teacher, I've really strived for folks to become like kind of their own teacher in a way, and I think we all are kind of our own teacher in a way, and then we do get guidance from teachers, and they teach us things, obviously, and but they kind of help to set you in a direction, and And I've taken lessons from folks too, and I always kind of felt that I'd hear the voice of my teacher throughout the week, and it just could be something really insightful that they said, or something I felt I needed to kind of decode for whatever reason, and or something kind of inspiring, like about practice, and how everybody goes through these kind of tough times of learning an instrument. I think, I mean, at really um, any level. I mean, I heard Herbie Hancock talking about playing like kind of a classical piece, I think at some concert, and he was uh, you know, really working on it, and the passage. And this is way well into his career, and quite a successful career at the time. And I don't remember exactly when this was, but you know, just being really concerned about a certain passage, and all that. So it's always kind of difficult. I think there's always something difficult that we could do. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, we kind of move the goalpost. Every time we can end up doing something, we can say I can do that thing, and then we think, well, what if I could do this other thing? Or how many different ways can I approach a certain improvisation topic, or um, so it's kind of always something. So anyway, kind of the idea I really want to put across is like how to make our own arrangement of chord melody. So we did a little look at some of the Earl Clue. How do we assign a melody note? So we talked about that on overview analysis, and mostly relating to roots. Say, okay, if I know where G is, I know where the melody is. Can I link those up through these octave shapes? For example, can I get those kind of hooked up? Uh, and then um, and then from there, actually, I think that may have been I guess that was overview and analysis, and then we had our practice alongs. We had at least one practice along in the practice ideas and concepts, and I talked a little bit this week, a little more about kind of the ideas of how much to practice, and how to approach certain things. We did this really, I think, pretty interesting talk about um, taking and dividing up the octave. So you might even take one string and do this, but taking it, dividing it out different ways. And just like it kind of exploring that, we talked about how we can set all those up, and it's pretty interesting that kind of the more crowded you make the octave, like trying to fit 7 notes in, and you could kind of find all the modes of the major scale. You could find even modes of harmonic minor, melodic minor, harmonic major. Things just by dividing it up 7 ways and trying to get these notes to set a little bit apart from one another. Um, the harmonic minor and harmonic major are a little bit odd in that way because there's a larger interval in both of those. So if you have a harmonic major, right? So that's an augmented second. Same thing with harmonic minor. So those two are a little kind of funny in that way, but definitely melodic minor, modes of melodic minor, and modes of the major scale. All right, and we talked about mapping out the guitar neck, basically using caged, and I got some really good feedback from one of our members here, so thank you for that. So yeah, moving kind of up the neck. I think never sure if I should mention names or not, but Chris, one of our members, I think he was saying think about moving up and moving to the next chord shape, maybe with like kind of the first finger anchoring that. And what I did on that talk was I brought the capo around and we did all these basically did 5 different chords. So we took of course the C, did the C chord kind of up the neck, and then I did the same thing with kind of like A. G, E, and D. So that was a pretty fun talk. I kind of had fun with that. I have fun with all of these talks, and so it's really fun to do and fun to discuss. Oh, let me check in and see. Doing okay, good. All right, so practice ideas and concepts. Kind of working at trying to work on some specific things, but also trying to inspire practice, trying to kind of keep folks going. It is kind of a big challenge playing the guitar. All right. All right. So one of the big things I wanted to work on this week was understanding these diminished arpeggios and kind of that relationship to the 2/5. So there are certain tunes like you know what, maybe I'll do a quick search even on American composer. I'd like to see what tunes he did. He got a list of tunes. It's a lot of Academy Awards, wins, and nominations. So, Darn That Dream, that's another one. I should check into a lot of these. I was trying to wonder. I was wondering if he did. There's another tune. I can't quite remember the name. Oh, Polka Dots and Moonbeams. Should talk about that one. Like Someone in Love. Oh, he wrote so many. Yeah, he wrote so many. It Could Happen to You. That's the one I was thinking of, I think. But there are a lot of tunes where he used this progression. So, you know, that thing you could play. I shouldn't say thing, but that tune, that progression. You notice I played these diminished. That's like E flat major, E diminished, F minor, F sharp diminished, and then G minor 7, or you might think of the one chord as well. But if you notice there, that's an alternate change to this other change. So that's basically the same chord progression as and this is, but beautiful is much slower. So it's basically kind of the same. It's in a different key, but you know, by that same kind of thing, we could do. Right, so it's that kind of walking up by half step versus like that. So kind of an interesting relationship there, just as substituting in. So we're taking like G sharp diminished here, substituting it for the B minor 7 flat 5 to E7. So it's 2 chords, but we just play one of the diminished chords. And you can substitute either way. So the chord progression is G, B, E. You could play G and then G sharp diminished. Right? So that's a pretty interesting kind of thing. And so one thing that we did this week was on Theory and Fingerboard was to talk a little bit about, okay, how, if we compare this B minor 7 flat 5 to B diminished, how is it the same and different, right? So half diminished is basically 3 notes the same as fully diminished, but fully diminished has the lowered or the double flat 7. So we have this sound versus this sound. Now I'm comparing this one to B. So B half diminished to B diminished. Earlier I had mentioned, rather than playing B half diminished, you play G sharp diminished. Now, why am I not comparing that right now? Well, I am kind of, because it's the same 4 notes. So if we have a G sharp diminished, if we just collect these notes, so G sharp, F, B, D. So now if we go to B diminished, okay, if I say, okay, G sharp is on the 4th string, okay, and then F, that one's on the 2nd string, okay, and then B, that's on the 6th string, and then D on the 3rd string. So it's the same 4 notes, right? But if I place it here with the B, then it's easier to compare, because it's kind of right there in the same register, and we're just moving this one note right from one to the next. So then we could take that B diminished and compare it to the 5 chord, right? So we could say, okay, well, we know the diminished is 3 of the 4 notes in common with the B half diminished. Let's check out the E7 flat 9. Now, we see if we play E7 flat 9, we get these 4 notes: E, G sharp, D, and F. Now, if we replace the D, or the E, sorry, with the B, that's still the 5th of E7. So they're more right back on the B diminished 7. So you can see we have 3 of the same notes, and actually the B diminished 7 or G sharp diminished 7 is part of the E7 flat 9 chord. It's in there as part of the chord. Right. So in a sense, that going to the diminished chord is like kind of like going straight to the E7 flat 9, but putting it over G sharp, and we're omitting the E. So it's in a sense kind of like going G, G, and then E7 flat 9, and then A minor, and then the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 from there. So it's sort of like it doesn't have the 2 in front of it. So this very closely related, maybe more so to the dominant 7th chord, the E7 flat 9, because that diminished chord is really a part of that. If we spell out E7 flat 9, okay, we get E, G sharp, B, D, F. Kind of spread it out there. All right, so that was a big part of the theme for this week, was to try to work with those 2 5s to minor, essentially, minor 2 5s, which can go to major as well. And then just trying to think a little bit about the diminished 7th chord and how that could relate as a substituted chord change, or to just have an awareness of that diminished kind of arpeggio within that 5 chord, because it's a nice line too. So if you play G major 7, right? So if we start on the E7, start on the G sharp or the 3rd, play an arpeggio, G sharp diminished arpeggio over the E, and then land on the F, that's the flat 9, and then that's going to resolve to the 5th of the A minor. All right, we also did a little more on the shapes from the Earl clue. So we took a small section of that arrangement and looked at some of the shapes and got a sense for what they looked like, and how when you're working on playing tunes, to try to maybe block chords, and maybe even some of the melodies. So play them as kind of a group. And working there on the changes and from one to the next and all that. All right, everybody. Play a little bit for a minute or two. And maybe I'll give a little bit of a couple updates here too, but maybe I'll play through but beautiful a little bit. Just kind of playing around with things here. So. So I've been playing lately through. I brought back this Iridium pedal. So down in the kind of green screen studio, I I've got these amps and cabinets set up, and so I really prefer that sound. I feel like it sounds really good. There's a couple issues with it sounding a little bit noisy, but I do send it through some processing, sort of cleans it up. But I'm not sure exactly how to monitor it in the clean kind of setting. So if one monitors things through some of the processing in the computer, it's a little bit delayed when you hear it. So that's kind of that issue. So I'm not really sure if I should just kind of get used to that little bit of a delay. So like I've been mentioning, I've been kind of working on when I can, getting some of the backing tracks and things synced up so I can do things live. And I had that going a ways back, maybe last year, but I still kept running into issues with it, and so I built this faster computer and all that, and got that all set up. So I think it's gonna be really nicely workable, but I just kind of need to do some more testing of getting sort of things lined up in time with all the latency and then monitoring it. So I'm kind of beginning to think this has been a really long exploration of these things, but almost thinking I should just get used to hearing the guitar sounding later than when I play it, and then just get used to syncing that in with the live sound of the backing tracks, and so I might play with that. So that would kind of require me to sort of change my perception of playing, because typically I hear it pretty much when I play it, just like kind of everybody does, I think, when you just plug into an amp or something. But if you try to add some processing, and sync things up with the audio, so it's kind of what I'm doing is playing internally. I've never been a really big fan of hearing folks when I hear someone like playing with a backing track just sort of in a room. For me, I just don't really. It does work well, I think, for demonstrating things, but at least for what I'm trying to do, I want it to sound as much like the guitar is with the backing track as possible. So I've even just recording, it's sort of kind of a struggle to get everything like pre-recorded kind of things to sound like not too mechanical and not too kind of lined up. So the sort of computer metronomic thing with the human playing. So I'm trying to do as much of playing the instruments, but then you're just still doing it at different times. And so anyway, I continue to do research and try to improve everything. So, all right, everybody. I'm hoping next week is just a lot better. So the last probably 2 or 3 weeks have just been really challenging, but the last 2 weeks, we're kind of on schedule with everything, but we're on schedule with content wise, but or for my goals at least, content wise. But mostly I've had to come in a little bit later in the evening and do the videos, and so hopefully my mornings are looking a little bit better. Today ended up being a snow day, so I had to adjust with that, and some around the house home improvement things I'm working on now too. So hopefully I can clear those and get some things going out there. I still want to do the Rose Room video, Charlotte Christian solo. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll come out soon. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for checking this out, and I will see you all in the next one.